Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to my review of Night 1 of WrestleMania 37. Night 1 of WrestleMania 37 is in the books, and it was taking place from Raymond James Stadium in Tampa Bay, out in Florida. And the show just ended like 10 minutes ago, and I gotta say, Night 1 of WrestleMania 37, it was a decent show. I enjoyed the show. It wasn't a perfect show by any means. The show had its ups and downs. It had its meh moments. But overall, to me, it was a thumbs up show. It was enjoyable, like I said, but not a perfect or great show by any means. And at the end of the night, to me, it just didn't feel like, it didn't have that WrestleMania, feel to me. You think of WrestleMania, you think, magic moments like, oh, this match feels like a WrestleMania match. At the end of the night, I just didn't get that WrestleMania magic, in my opinion. So, but like I said, overall, it was a decent night one. I enjoyed it. It wasn't a perfect or great show by any means, but still, it was a thumbs up show. And the stage for WrestleMania with the pirate ship, really loved the look of the stage. It's probably the best stage that WWE has built, next to the WrestleMania 33 stage with the long ramp, and he had the roller coaster and the big globe. That is my favorite WrestleMania stage, the WrestleMania 33 stage. This one with the pirate ship is my second favorite. So, but just the look of the stage with the pirate ship was, just amazing. Really loved how it was done. And also, the fans back in attendance, they were wearing masks. Some of them weren't wearing masks, though, but it was awesome, seeing the fans there in attendance and making noise. We all waited for such a while to have fans back in attendance and make some noise. And it was just awesome, hearing, the fans cheer. And it's something that I missed. I miss fans being there and cheering. So, but it was good to have the fans back for night one and also night two of WrestleMania, which is going to be tomorrow. And then after WrestleMania, we're going back to the Thunderdome, and we might not have fans in attendance maybe until SummerSlam. I think that SummerSlam will be the next time that we will actually see fans in attendance. But, it was great hearing the fans make some noise again. It's been a whole year since fans were in attendance at a WWE show. And you got to hear, the fans all cheer. But let's jump right into the review. There was a bit of news that I'm going to touch upon. Earlier, I think before the show started, there was a storm that moved through there in Tampa. Had a big thunderstorm. It was lightning. It was heavy wind, from what I've heard. So the show started off. It opened up with Vince McMahon and the WWE roster on the stage, and he was introduced by Greg Hamilton. Vince got on the mic, and he ended up saying, "The WWE superstars perform tirelessly for the fans. But over the past several months and weeks, they always knew something was missing. You know what I'm saying? The thing that was missing was the most important part of the show. And that was the WWE Universe, the fans. So the fans were popping for Vince. And Vince ended up saying that as we emerge from this pandemic, on behalf of the WWE family, we like to say thank you. And then Vince was like, and we welcome you to WrestleMania. So the crowd ended up popping, and that was that. But I thought that was a very nice welcome back for the fans. You know, the fans haven't been there in over a year because, of course, the pandemic. So I thought that was a nice little way to welcome back the fans that that attended night 1 of WrestleMania, and also the fans who are going to attend night 2 tomorrow night. So then we had BB Rexa, singer BB Rexa. She ended up singing America the Beautiful. Very good performance from her of America the Beautiful. And then the show started. We had no pyro as the show started. I was expecting that we would get some pyro, but unfortunately it went straight to Michael Cole welcoming us to the show. Michael Cole was joined by Samoa Joe and Byron Saxton on commentary. They ended up talking about, of course, the weather down there. And then we got a rain delay. There was a rain delay that happened because a thunderstorm moved in. It was pouring. So we saw the fans evacuating, I guess, to a certain part of the building in Raymond James Stadium. So they had to get interviews with superstars backstage. And with the rain, with the weather, had this little bit of news here. Unfortunately, because of the weather, there was a report that said that the stage, that the set was damaged. It was reported by Fightful Select. I'm getting this from WrestlingInc.com. And here it says it was reported by Fightful Select that the rough weather that caused the delay actually ripped some of the WrestleMania set because there was heavy rain, high winds that went along with the storm down there. And the storm and the winds destroyed the flags that were on top of the pirate ship. And because of that, it says right here that men in hard hats were sent up to fix the flags that were on top of the pirate ship that was, built on the set. And anything else had to be adjusted. It was reported that WWE had tarped off the video screens to protect them from the rain. And a lot of the floor seating had blown over before being fixed. So that was the little news about that. But I was like, man, already last year, WrestleMania didn't take place with no fans, and because of the pandemic, and now this year they had to deal with Mother Nature coming in, with the heavy rain, the thunder, and the heavy winds. So they had to end up, dealing with that. But there's also another report that came out. WWE announces more than 25,000 fans for night 1 of WrestleMania tonight. It was previously revealed that WWE expected 25,000 fans each night. they had planned to sell 75,000 tickets, and that they were forced to reduce it because, of course, COVID-19 protocols. And it says a sellout crowd of 25,675 fans attended night one tonight of WrestleMania. So there you go, 25,675 fans were in attendance for night one tonight of WrestleMania. So I just had to get that little bit of news, out there. But back to the review, I said that there was a rain delay when the show began. We saw fans were, escaping the rain. They were covering themselves with ponchos. I heard that the fans were given some direction over a loudspeaker at Raymond James Stadium. So Michael Cole on commentary was talking about how the opening match was delayed due to, of course, the weather. So Michael Cole ended up sending us backstage to Sarah Schreiber. Sarah Schreiber was interviewing Shane McMahon. And then she interviewed Bobby Lashley and MVP. And Drew McIntyre was there. And we had Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley try to square up. They ended up having some words. And they were being separated by officials. So we had, just interviews throughout for 30 minutes. And we didn't get the first match until after 8:30. So this almost half hour of the show was just all interviews that they had to do because of course, the weather. So after 8:30, we saw the fans filing back to their seats. Michael Cole in commentary ended up saying that the weather threat has passed. And Michael Cole and Samoa Joe, we saw, were in their ponchos, in their white ponchos. So we had Titus O'Neil and Hulk Hogan come out. They were the co-hosts of WrestleMania this year. Of course, Titus O'Neil won the Warrior Award at the 2020, Hall of Fame. What we saw on Tuesday, he went into the 2020 Hall of Fame with the Warrior Award. So both Titus O'Neil and Hulk Hogan ended up coming out. Titus ended up welcoming everyone to Raymond James Stadium, and he ended up welcoming everyone around the world to Tampa Bay, which is his city. He ended up saying, rain, sleet, or now, it doesn't matter because the WWE Universe has the energy we've been wanting for a whole year. And I agree with Titus there. We all missed that energy from the fans for a whole year because of course, the pandemic. So Titus ended up saying, for 1 year, 1 month, and 1 day, we are back in business, live. So Hulk Hogan ended up saying that he doesn't think the fans heard Titus, brother. So Titus ended up repeating the 1 year, 1 month, 1 day line, and the crowd ended up popping for that. And Hulk Hogan ended up saying that we're going to make history tonight and tomorrow night. And we're going to do it right now with the very first match. So Titus ended up saying that it won't just be any match. It will be for the WWE Championship. So Hogan ended up hyping up, the match, Bobby Lashley and his, of course, Hurt Lock, Drew McIntyre and his Claymore kick. And Hogan ended up saying one question to Titus. So Titus ended up asking what we're going to do when Titus Worldwide. So then Hogan ended up chiming in and asked, what you going to do when the Hulkamaniacs? So both of them end up joining each other, and they're like, what you going to do when they run wild for 2 nights of WrestleMania? So that was that. And then we had the first match. Drew McIntyre versus Bobby Lashley for the WWE Championship. This was a very enjoyable match. This was a good match. Not the best WWE Championship match, but it was very enjoyable. We had Drew McIntyre come out first. McIntyre came out, of course, with a sword. You got a pyro explosion on the stage. Fans were cheering McIntyre. So then next came out Bobby Lashley. Bobby Lashley came out along with MVP. McIntyre was shown staring Bobby Lashley down. So the bell ended up ringing, and it was 8:45 when the bell rang, when the match ended up starting. So Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre, they went into the ropes. They locked up. Lashley ended up taking McIntyre down. McIntyre ended up applying a headlock to Lashley. They ended up running the ropes. Lashley ended up dropping McIntyre with a shoulder, and McIntyre got right back up. McIntyre then took control of the match. The both of them ended up running the ropes again. McIntyre ended up delivering a overhead throw on Lashley. McIntyre was taunting Lashley. They were having a few words. McIntyre ended up rocking Lashley, and they started trading strikes at each other. Lashley then ended up beating McIntyre into the corner. MVP, of course, was cheering him on. So McIntyre ended up clotheslining Lashley over the top rope out to the floor. McIntyre ended up following, but Lashley ended up sending him into the barricade. And Lashley ended up tossing McIntyre into the barricade again. Lashley then kept control of the match, ended up driving McIntyre into another part of the barricade. Lashley ended up bringing McIntyre back into the ring, and he ended up hitting a thrust in the corner and a neck breaker. Went for the cover, which McIntyre ended up kicking out at 2. Lashley was throwing some strikes in the corner. McIntyre ended up getting whipped in the corner from Lashley, but he came back and delivered a big clothesline. McIntyre then ducked another clothesline from Lashley. He ended up launching Lashley with another overhead throw. He also delivered another overhead throw to Lashley. McIntyre ended up delivering a neck breaker, and both McIntyre and Lashley were flat on their backs. So fans, of course, were cheering for McIntyre. McIntyre ended up going for the Future Shock DDT, but Lashley ended up ramming McIntyre back into the corner. Lashley then ended up charging in, but ran into an elbow from McIntyre. McIntyre again delivered another overhead suplex. Went for the cover, which Lashley ended up kicking out at 2. And at the end of the match, we had Bobby Lashley win the match, where McIntyre was struggling with Lashley, but Lashley ended up locking in the Hurt Lock on McIntyre. McIntyre was fading. Lashley then kept the Hurt Lock holded on McIntyre. McIntyre was shown fading down to one knee. So McIntyre ended up breaking the Hurt Lock using the turnbuckles, but Bobby Lashley ended up coming back up, and he still had the Hurt Lock applied. McIntyre then faded back to his knees and then down to the mat. And then the referee ended up calling for the bell. And there you go. Bobby Lashley ended up winning the match, retaining the WWE Championship. But overall, it was a good match. It was a very enjoyable match. Not the best WWE Championship match, but it was enjoyable. I was shocked that Bobby Lashley retained the title, because we all thought that WWE was going to put the title back on Drew McIntyre and, redo like what they did last year, where, McIntyre, if he won the title here, the fans would, pop for him. But WWE didn't go with that. I really like that they made Bobby Lashley retain the title. Overall, good match, very enjoyable. And then we went to Titus O'Neil backstage with the NWO, who just went into the WWE Hall of Fame, the 2020 WWE Hall of Fame. So we saw, of course, Hogan, X-Pac, Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, and Bayley ended up walking up. And it's good that we saw Bayley on the show tonight because, of course, WWE hasn't even had Bayley on Smackdown in weeks. Bayley has not done anything. So it was good that WWE ended up using Bayley tonight. And I'm glad. I'm glad at some point tonight Bayley was used. So Bayley ended up saying that she hosts a popular talk show, the Ding Dong Hello Show. And she ended up saying that if Titus and Hulk Hogan need her helping host the show, she's here. And they were like, oh, they're not interested. So Bayley ended up trying to go for a too sweet, but she was left hanging. Which, that was funny though. But thank God we got Bayley on the show tonight. With WWE not having her on TV in weeks. So I was happy to see Bayley. And then we went to the tag team turmoil match, the women's tag team turmoil match. Lana and Naomi versus the Riot Squad versus Carmella and Billy K versus Natalya and Tamina versus Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke. Now, I gotta say, why was this match on the WrestleMania card? This match did not scream a WrestleMania-worthy match. This match should have been on Monday Night Raw or SmackDown. This did not deserve to be on the show tonight or on the WrestleMania card. This was terrible. I think if, WrestleMania, like I said, tonight's WrestleMania was a decent show, but if this match was off the card, it still would have been a decent show. But this was terrible. This match was terrible. So we had Lana and Naomi come out, and of course the winners of this match will face Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler tomorrow night on night 2 of WrestleMania, and they will face Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler for the Women's Tag Team Championship. So Lana and Naomi came out, and then Carmella and Billy K. So the match started off with Naomi and Carmella starting it out. Naomi was unloaded Carmella with kicks. She ended up delivering a drop kick to Carmella. Lana came in. She ended up taking Carmella out from the corner. Delivers a bulldog. Lana ended up delivering double knees to the back of Carmella against the ropes. Carmella then turned it around, slammed Lana by her hair. So she ended up taking Lana into the corner. She tagged in Billy K. Carmella and Billy K end up double teaming on Lana. Billy K ended up working Lana over. She was talking some trash to her. Naomi ended up coming in. She ended up turning around on Billy K. So we had Lana got another tag in. And she then ended up tagging Naomi back in. Didn't spend, a lot of time there. And then she ended up tagging Naomi back in. They did a double team to Billy K. So we saw Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. They were watching the match backstage. Naomi ended up tossing Carmella into the apron. Billy K took advantage of the match. Ended up rolling up Naomi from behind. And there you go. Lana and Naomi were eliminated. And then out came the Riot Squad. Liv Morgan and Ruby Riott. Both Liv Morgan and Ruby Riott were my picks to win the match. And I gotta say, I like the attire that Ruby Riott and Liv Morgan were wearing tonight. Liv Morgan was having the Harley Quinn attire there, which I really love seeing. So we had Liv end up taking out Carmella on the apron. She then went to work on Billy K. Ruby ended up coming in. Her and Liv Morgan ended up double teaming on Billy K. Billy K ended up sending Ruby Riott out to the floor. She ended up dropping Liv. Carmella tagged back in, started unloading on Liv in the corner. Carmella ended up doing a Bronco Buster on Liv Morgan. It was back and forth. So we had Ruby Riott end up nailing a big senton from the top. Before that, Liv Morgan ended up dropping Billy K with the double knees. And then Ruby ended up nailing a big senton from the top. And then Billy K and Carmella were eliminated. So then out came Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke. And I don't know if any of you saw this, but Mandy Rose ended up tripping as she made her way down, which I got a chuckle there when that happened. And because the stage, of course, was wet because of the rain, so Dana ended up coming in. She ended up delivering a blockbuster to Ruby Riott. So she went for the cover. Liv ended up breaking the pin. So Ruby ended up fighting Dana off. Dana ended up hitting a spinning neck breaker for a 2 count. More back and forth between Mandy and Dana Brooke and the Riot Squad. So Liv started unloading on Mandy Rose. Went for the cover. Mandy ended up kicking out at 2. So we had Dana Brooke and Mandy Rose end up getting eliminated because Dana ended up going to the top and she ended up hitting a swanton to Liv. Liv ended up reversing it and she eliminated Dana Brooke and Mandy Rose, which Greg Hamilton ended up botching, and he ended up saying that the Riot Squad were eliminated. Then he was like, oh, excuse me. Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke are eliminated. I'm like, pay attention, Greg Hamilton. So then next came Natalya and Tamina. So it was down to, of course, Natalya and Tamina and the Riot Squad. So Natalya ended up going for the sharpshooter on Liv Morgan, but Liv ended up rolling Natalya for a 2 count. Natalya ended up slamming Liv Morgan into the top rope. Tamina ended up coming in, starting unloading on Liv in the corner. And at the end of the match, Natalya ended up going for the sharpshooter on Ruby Riott. And she ended up dropping Ruby's legs. She ended up pointing at Tamina. Tamina ended up tagging in. Tamina went to the top and delivered the Superfly splash on Ruby Riott. And then she went for the cover. And there you go. Natalya and Tamina win the match. They're the new #1 contenders for the Women's Tag Team titles. So they're going to be facing Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler tomorrow night. I don't care. I don't care about this match tomorrow night. It should have been the Riot Squad. It should have been Liv Morgan and Ruby Riott. But really? Natalya and Tamina? Really? That just proves right there Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler are going to be retaining the titles tomorrow night. I am not surprised. But overall, this was a terrible match. This match did not deserve to be on the WrestleMania card. It did not deserve to be on the show. This match could have took place on Monday Night Raw or SmackDown. Did not deserve to be on WrestleMania. This match did not scream WrestleMania worthy match. And then we had Cesaro versus Seth Rollins. This was the first best match of the night, in my opinion. This was very entertaining. Cesaro and Seth Rollins, they both gave it what they got. So we had Seth Rollins end up coming out first. And we got a video showing, the hype to the match, what led to the match. And then Cesaro ended up coming out next. He got a big pop from the crowd, got some pyro. So Cesaro immediately charged into the ring, delivered a uppercut to Seth Rollins. He tried to go for the Cesaro swing, but he couldn't get it. Cesaro ended up getting some more offense, but Seth Rollins ended up blocking another swing attempt. Cesaro was going to go for another attempt at the swing, but Rollins ended up blocking that. Cesaro then ended up hitting a corkscrew springboard uppercut. So Rollins ended up trying to get a breather out on the floor. Cesaro ended up stopping him. Cesaro ended up rocking Seth Rollins with a knee. They went back and forth. Rollins then delivered a buckle bomb to Cesaro. Went for the cover, which Cesaro ended up kicking out at 2. Cesaro started delivering some strikes in the middle of the ring to Seth Rollins. Rollins then ended up sending Cesaro to the apron, but Cesaro ended up rocking Seth Rollins. He went to the top, but Rollins ended up running up and nailed a superplex, a nice superplex, and then Rollins ended up holding that and went right into the Falcon Arrow, and he went for the cover. Cesaro ended up kicking out at 2. So they were trading offense now, both Seth Rollins and Cesaro. And we had another point where Rollins ended up blocking the Cesaro swing once again. He ended up rolling Cesaro up for a 2 count. Cesaro then tried again, but Rollins ended up getting to the bottom rope. There was a point where Cesaro ended up scooping Seth Rollins on his shoulders. And he started spinning Seth Rollins around. And there was a point where Cesaro ended up blocking the stomp from Seth Rollins. And he ended up nailing the Cesaro swing to Seth Rollins. He ended up swinging him 9 times. And, he only swung him 9 times because his arm was bothering him. Cesaro's arm was bothering him. So Cesaro tried to go for the neutralizer, but it got blocked by Rollins. Seth Rollins ended up hitting the turnbuckle with the running uppercut. And then Rollins ended up springboarding in with a knee to Cesaro's face. Rollins then went for the spling blade, and he ended up hitting a corkscrew splash. Went for the cover, which Cesaro ended up kicking out at 2. There was a point where Rollins ended up blocking another neutralizer attempt from Cesaro, and he ended up dropping Cesaro with the pedigree. Went for the cover, and Cesaro ended up kicking out. So at the end of the match, we had Cesaro do another swing in the middle of the ring. And Cesaro ended up breaking his own record with the swings. And then he ended up nailing the neutralizer to Seth Rollins. And so there you go. Cesaro ended up winning the match. And post-match, Cesaro ended up standing tall, and the crowd ended up giving him a standing ovation, which was amazing. And Corey Graves on commentary ended up saying that you can't bet the locker room is doing the same. Probably, the guys in the locker room were giving Cesaro a standing ovation after his performance in this match. So, but that was that. It was an amazing moment where the crowd just gave a standing ovation to Cesaro because he was very good in this match. He was amazing here. And I hope WWE gives Cesaro the big push that he deserves after this. I really do hope WWE follows it up with Cesaro after tonight. But overall, very good match, and it was the best match of the night, in my opinion. So then we saw how Jey Uso won the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal on SmackDown last night. Oh, not Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. Let me rephrase that. The Andre the Giant Jobber Battle Royal. So Jey Uso has won the that Battle Royal. Why am I not surprised? So Kayla Braxton was joined by Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode, the Dirty Dogs. So Roode and Ziggler end up talking to Kayla Braxton about being here for the big event. So Kayla end up asking them about the other tag team matches. So Roode and Ziggler end up giving props to Styles and Omas when talking about how they might defeat the New Day for the Raw Tag Team Championships. So that was that. And then we had Omos and AJ Styles versus the New Day, Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston for the Raw Tag Team Championships. So before the match got underway, we had Big E, Intercontinental Champion. He did the intro for the New Day. He introduced Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods, his brothers. So the New Day ended up reuniting for a little bit. And that was pretty cool. They were dancing around. Kofi and Xavier ended up heading to the ring. We had the fireworks go off above Raymond James Stadium. And then out came Styles and Omos. And this was Omos's in-ring debut. So this was pretty cool. So Styles and Omos end up coming into the ring. We had more pyro go off. Omos took off his jacket. And he looked to be, a little bit more like a wrestler now, since he took off his jacket. So the bell ended up ringing. Kofi ended up going at it with Styles. Both Kofi and Styles ended up trading counters. Styles ended up blocking the SOS from Kofi. And they were doing quick pin attempts, both of them. Styles then grounded Kofi with a headlock. Kofi ended up turning around and tossed Styles to the mat. Kofi was taunting Omas now on the apron. Xavier Woods was going crazy with Francesca at ringside. Styles ended up going back into the ring, but Kofi ended up drop kicking him. Both Styles and Kofi ended up running the ropes. Xavier Woods ended up tripping Styles from the floor, which allowed Kofi to deliver a splash to Styles. Xavier Woods ended up tagging in, and he ended up coming in from the apron, delivered an elbow drop to Styles. So Xavier Woods was keeping Styles away from Omas, and he was bragging about that. So Kofi ended up tagging in. Him and Xavier ended up double teaming on Styles. They ended up keeping Styles in their corner. Kofi then ended up beating Styles down, and he ended up stomping away with the unicorn stomp. And Xavier Woods came in and kept Styles down some more. So Kofi ended up tagging right back in, started delivering more stomps on Styles. And Xavier Woods ended up tagging back in, and Kofi ended up launching him at Styles in the corner. So Omos was shown getting very angry, and he wanted to get into the ring. He wanted to get, a piece of the action. So Xavier Woods was grounding Styles in the middle of the ring. Styles tried to make it to Omos, but Woods ended up stopping him. Kofi ended up coming in, and him and Xavier Woods ended up double teaming on Styles with chops and kicks. And Kofi ended up bulldogging Styles for another 2 count. So Styles ended up getting free of that, and he ended up running around the ring, and he tagged in Omas. But Woods ended up cutting him off. So then later on, Styles finally saw an opening, and he tagged in Omas. Omas slowly came to the ring. He was staring at Xavier Woods. Xavier Woods had a scared look on his face. He was frightened. He ended up backing up, and he was getting ready to fight Omas. Xavier Woods was delivering kicks to Omas, and it did nothing to him. It did nothing to Omas. So Omas was shown calling Woods a bitch. So Woods ended up drop kicking Omas. Omas barely even moved. So Kofi was encouraging Xavier Woods while Styles was yelling at Omas. Omas then ended up dropping Xavier Woods. And Kofi ended up coming off the top. Omas ended up taking him out. And he ended up calling him a weak bitch. So Kofi ended up running at Omas. And he ended up getting launched in the corner from Omas. Omas then delivered a big charging elbow to Xavier Woods in the corner. And he did the same to Kofi in the opposite corner. So Omas ended up scooping Xavier Woods and delivered a backbreaker over the knee. Omas was holding Xavier Woods over his knee, started bending Xavier Woods. Omas then ended up picking Kofi up with one arm, and he ended up dropping him over the knee. Styles ended up leaping onto Omas' shoulders and delivered a phenomenal forearm to take out Xavier Woods, which sent him out to the floor. So Kofi was in the ring with Omas, and Kofi looked dazed here. So Omas ended up nailing a huge slam on Kofi in the middle of the ring. And then he ended up putting one foot on top of Kofi in the middle of the ring. And there you go. Omas and Styles ended up winning the match. And they are the new Raw Tag Team Champions. And I knew that the titles were going to be going on Styles and Omas. This is Omas's first title win, his first championship win in WWE, even though it's, the tag team titles. He's won half with Styles. But this was an enjoyable match, in my opinion. So, the post-match, we saw Styles and Omos standing tall in the ring with the titles. And that was that. So there you go. Omos and Styles, your new Raw Tag Team Champions. And so then we had Braun Strowman versus Shane McMahon. Steel cage match. We had Jerry Lawler on commentary here. He was the guest commentator. He was joined by Michael Cole and Byron Saxton. So out came Shane McMahon. He did his, of course, shuffle as he came out on the stage. And he was wearing a Brains versus Braun jersey. It was a custom made jersey. So he made his way out to the ring. And then out came Braun Strowman. So, as I say, I wasn't looking forward to this match. I ended up saying, this match at WrestleMania is going to fucking suck. I don't care for this feud. This feud with Braun Strowman and Shane McMahon has been terrible. With Shane McMahon going, Braun is stupid. Or Braun. It's so stupid. And then we have this match taking place. And I gotta say, this match wasn't as bad as I thought it was gonna be. It was actually pretty okay. So, Braun was attacked by Elias and Jackson Riker. And they started unloading on Braun Strowman with chair shots. Shane was already in the ring. He was watching from the cage door. So Elias and Jackson Riker were focusing on Strowman's leg. Shane ended up pulling Strowman into the cage. Shane then ended up grabbing one of the chairs and started beating Strowman around the cage with it. Strowman started to fight back. He ended up stopping Shane from leaving the cage. So Strowman ended up warning Shane that he's going to get these hands. So Shane starts unloading with punches and kicks to Strowman's leg. Shane ended up ducking Strowman's punches, started delivering more shots. So Shane started to climb the cage, but he ended up slipping because, of course, the rain. I guess it was still, wet from the rain. So Strowman ended up grabbing him. Shane ended up fighting from the top rope. So we had Shane ended up ripping a piece of sheet metal from the top of the cage. He started beating Strowman around with it. And we had Shane ended up covering Strowman, but Strowman ended up kicking out fast. So we had Strowman ended up stopping Shane from crawling to the door again. Strowman then ended up launching Shane across the ring, sending him face first into the steel of the cage. So Strowman was leveling Shane again, but of course his hurt leg was bothering him. So we had later on Elias and Jackson Riker end up getting involved again. They started climbing the cage on one side. Shane also climbed up on the cage. Elias and Jackson Riker were trying to help Shane get over the top. So Strowman ended up running. He ended up hitting the cage wall, which knocked both Elias and Riker off to the floor. And Shane actually also fell off of the cage too. He landed on the mat. So Shane ended up climbing up the cage again to escape Strowman, but Strowman ended up stopping him. Both Shane and Strowman ended up reaching the top of the cage. Shane ended up grabbing a toolbox from the top of the cage because it had like these little white bags on top of the cage. So Shane ended up reaching in one of them. He ended up grabbing a toolbox. He ended up smashing Strowman in the face with it, which sent Strowman down to the mat. So Shane started climbing down the cage wall. He ended up making it halfway out to the floor. But Strowman ended up reaching through the cage wall. He ended up stopping Shane by grabbing his hands and his fingers. And so then Strowman here started ripping part of the cage wall off. He was peeling the cage wall open. So Shane was shocked. And of course, we saw at the top, Strowman ended up pulling Shane back into the cage through the hole that he peeled and ripped apart. So Strowman was unloaded with body shots while they were on the top rope. Strowman ended up pushing Shane up to the top of the cage. So Strowman ended up joining Shane on top of the cage. Strowman was standing on both feet at the very top of the cage. So he ended up picking Shane up by his throat. He started yelling at Shane, asking, "Who's stupid now?" And so then we had the oh my God moment in this match where Strowman ended up launching Shane from the top of the cage and Shane went all the way down to the mat. You could tell that that's going to be another moment that WWE is going to keep replaying for their, oh my God moments. So you could tell that that moment is going to be played a lot throughout the years. So Strowman ended up standing tall on top of the cage. So Shane was just laid out flat on his back after Strowman ended up throwing Shane from the top of the cage. So Strowman ended up talking about how this is for every person who has ever been called stupid or bullied. Now at this point, Strowman should have just escaped the cage. But unfortunately, he didn't. He went back down, he ended up scooping Shane up, ended up hitting the running power slam, ended up pinning Shane. So there you go. Braun Strowman ended up winning the match. But I think instead of him doing the running power slam, he should have just escaped the cage. But overall, the match wasn't as bad as as I was hoping it was going to be, but I was surprised. So it was an okay steel cage match. So then after that, we had the 2020 Hall of Fame people who were inducted come out. Bayley ended up interrupted, and she ended up annoying Michael Cole at the announce table. So we had Mike Rome in the ring. He ended up introducing the 2020 Hall of Fame class. We saw JBL, William Shatner, who wasn't there. He was inducted in the celebrity portion of the Hall of Fame. We had the Bella Twins, Nikki and Brie. We had Justin Thunder Liger, who was also not there. Titus O'Neil, who came out with the Warrior Award. And of course, we had the British Bulldog's family out there. And then we had the NWO come out. We had Hulk Hogan, X-Pac, Sean Waltman, aka Sean Waltman, Scott Hall, and Kevin Nash. So we had your 2020 Hall of Fame class. And then we had Bad Bunny and Damian Priest versus The Miz and John Morrison. And Booker T was the guest commentator. He ended up joining Michael Cole, Byron Saxton, and Samoa Joe on commentary. And oh my God, The Miz and John Morrison's entrance, oh my God, this was fucking terrible. I was literally embarrassed by watching their special entrance, where we had people dressed in bunny costumes hopping down the ramp around ringside. They're just hopping down. I don't know how many we had. Maybe we had like 10. Maybe. More than, I think we had like 10 people dressed in bunny suits come out just hopping down the ramp in ringside. They got into the ring. They filled it up. And then out came John Morrison and The Miz singing their awful, terrible, shitty, hey, hey, hop, hop song on the way to the ring. And they end up joining the people that were dressed in the bunny costumes in the ring. This was absolutely terrible. It was not needed at WrestleMania. Awful. It was embarrassing. So then we had a video package looking at, Bad Bunny's successful year, with the company, him winning the 24/7 championship. So we got all that, and the build to this match with The Miz and Morrison. So then we had Damian Priest end up coming out. And then Bad Bunny made his entrance where he was on top of a trailer truck, a 18-wheeler truck that was arriving outside of Raymond James Stadium. So he was kneeling down on the top of the truck. So the truck ended up entering the stadium. Bad Bunny was on the stage. And Bad Bunny ended up entering the ring. He ended up joining Damian Priest as The Miz and Morrison ended up looking on. Now, I gotta say, Bad Bunny, as much as me and the rest of the IWC or the people here in the YWC have shitted on Bad Bunny, he surprised me in this match by his moves here. I think he surprised all of us. Bad Bunny surprised all of us in this match, from doing, jumps off the top and everything. He really surprised me. So the match, as I say, this match was very entertaining. It was, in my opinion, the second best match of the night. So Damian Priest ended up starting with The Miz. And this was originally supposed to be Bad Bunny and The Miz. But unfortunately, they wanted to add Damian Priest there with Bad Bunny and make it a tag team match, which was the better decision. So Priest ended up starting the match off with The Miz. He approached The Miz with a fist in the corner. So they wanted Bad Bunny to start. Miz and Morrison was yelling out for Damian Priest to stop because they wanted Bad Bunny. So Damian Priest ended up tagging Bad Bunny in. Bad Bunny got a cheer from the crowd. Miz ended up taunting Bad Bunny, but Bad Bunny ended up punching the Miz with a right hand. Miz ended up getting rocked a second time from Bad Bunny. Bad Bunny started unloading in the corner on the Miz, but the Miz ended up turning around. He ended up holding Bad Bunny in the corner. Miz backed off, and Bad Bunny ended up nailing a double leg takedown, started unloading on the Miz on the mat. Like I said, Bad Bunny was impressive here. I think he shocked everybody in this match. So the Miz ended up turning around. He ended up kicking Bad Bunny in the gut, started working him over the mat. Miz ended up taking it back to the corner, started raking Bad Bunny's face over the top, and he was taunting Booker T on commentary. So Bad Bunny ended up countering another move. He ended up nailing the arm drag, which sent Miz out to the floor. Miz ended up running back in. Bad Bunny ended up nailing the takedown, and then he rolled up the Miz for a 2 count. So John Morrison ended up calming the Miz down. Miz ended up calling for a test of strength to Bad Bunny, but then he ended up kicking Bad Bunny and started beating him down. So Miz ended up having some words with Damian Priest. Bad Bunny kept on fighting from the apron. He ended up catching the Miz and delivered a spinning back fist. Bad Bunny delivered some head scissors, which spent the Miz around, sent him flying. Morrison ended up tagging in. He ended up charging, but Bad Bunny ended up dropping him with a headbutt. Bad Bunny then delivered a running splash to Morrison in the corner. He tried to deliver another one, but Morrison ended up meeting Bad Bunny and delivered an elbow. Miz then ended up dropping Bad Bunny with a cheap shot from the apron. So, in the end, we had Bad Bunny. He ended up launching himself over the top, and he ended up taking out the Miz and Morrison. So, at the end of the match, we had Bad Bunny and Damian Priest end up winning, where Bad Bunny ended up going to the top, ended up hitting a crossbody to bring Miz off of Damian Priest's shoulders. Bad Bunny ended up covering the Miz, and there you go. Bad Bunny and Damian Priest end up winning the match. Bad Bunny in his in-ring debut here. But overall, this was a very entertaining match. Bad Bunny ended up surprising everybody here in this match. And it was entertaining. It was the second best match of the night, in my opinion. And then we had the main event. Bianca Belair versus Sasha Banks for the Smackdown Women's Championship. And I am really glad that this match was the closing match of night 1 tonight. But this was a very good match here. It was very entertaining. We had Bianca Belair end up coming out first. Loved the attire that she was wearing. We had Pyro for Bianca. And then Sasha ended up coming out Sasha ended up coming out last. So what I really liked was WWE was like using drones to form Bianca and Sasha's logos in the air, which I thought that was very cool that they're doing that little thing with the drones. So Sasha came out and she had, of course, her blue hair color, but she also had green highlights, like yellowish green highlights, also in her hair. So we had Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair. Both of them were very emotional. So they were not at each other. They ended up getting serious before locking up. Both Bianca and Sasha ended up taking it to the corner. Sasha ended up backing off. And then they ended up locking up again. Sasha ended up dropping Bianca Belair. Bianca ended up talking trash in Sasha's face. They were shoving each other. Bianca ended up catching a leapfrog, but Sasha ended up turning it into a roll-up attempt. Sasha ended up dodging a standing moonsault from Bianca Belair, and they started going back and forth. And this is the dream match that we've all been waiting for, between Bianca and Sasha. The bill for this match was fucking terrible because, you had Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler, and Reginald being involved. So both Sasha and Bianca were talking some trash some more. Sasha ended up kicking Bianca in the stomach. Sasha ended up sending Bianca out to the floor. And then she followed up with a baseball slide. Bianca started fighting in from the apron. But Sasha ended up dropping her neck over the top rope. Sasha ended up sending Bianca back out to the floor. The referee ended up making the count. Sasha ended up running the ropes and nailed a suicide dive to Bianca. But Bianca ended up standing right up. And she was carrying Sasha Banks. So we had Bianca later on. She ended up going to the top for a 450 splash, but Sasha ended up getting her knees up, and Bianca ended up landing hard on Sasha's knees. So they went back and forth. Sasha ended up delivering a kick to Bianca's face. She ended up charging again, and she ended up leaping for her Hurricanrana, but Bianca ended up turning it into a nice, awesome-looking powerbomb. So we had Bianca end up holding it. She ended up powering back up for another powerbomb, but she ended up pinning Sasha, and Sasha ended up kicking out at one. Bianca ended up powering up for a third powerbomb, but Sasha ended up countering it, and ended up slamming Bianca face first into the mat. So we had later on, Bianca ended up pulling herself to the top, hit the 450 splash, and Sasha ended up kicking out of that. And Bianca was very shocked here. Like, she couldn't believe that Sasha kicked out of the 450 splash. So she was freaking out. Bianca was freaking out. Corey Graves ended up saying that she may have been emotionally destroyed there. So Bianca then scooped Sasha up for the KOD. Sasha ended up landing on her feet, pulling Bianca's hair. And Bianca ended up pulling back, and she ended up getting control. So Sasha ended up charging at Bianca, but Bianca ended up taking her hair, and she whipped her hair hard at Sasha. We heard that whip, and it echoed. I tell you, that whip from Bianca's hair to Sasha echoed throughout all of Raymond James Stadium. It was that loud as how it came off of on TV. So then Sasha ended up blocking the KOD. She ended up jumping for the backstabber, but that was blocked by Bianca. Bianca came back, ended up hitting the KOD, and she went for the cover. And there you go. Bianca Belair ended up winning the match and is the new SmackDown Women's Champion. And I'm happy for Bianca. I think she deserves the title, and this match ended up proving it. So, but that whip from Bianca with her hair to Sasha left a big mark on the side of Sasha's ribs, which was crazy to see. It left that big of a mark. But Post-match, we saw Bianca's family. They were sitting at ringside. They were celebrating. They were going crazy. I think Michael Cole in commentary said that Bianca's, dad was celebrating so hard that he almost went over the barricade. So we had the fireworks go off around Raymond James Stadium as Bianca ended up raising the SmackDown Women's Championship in the air. And that was how night one of WrestleMania went off the air. But overall, this was a very entertaining match. I am happy that Bianca won the SmackDown Women's Championship, and she rightfully deserves it. And I think it was the best choice for WWE to end night one of WrestleMania with that match. It was awesome. But overall, night one of WrestleMania, it was a decent show. It was enjoyable. Wasn't great or perfect. It had, like I said, it had some meh moments with that awful women's tag team turmoil match that didn't need to be on the show, and the stupid people in the bunny suits coming out for the Miz and John Morrison special entrance. But aside from all that, decent show. Decent night one of WrestleMania tonight. So, anyways, that's it for my review of night one of WrestleMania. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this review. And definitely give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe. Tomorrow night, I won't be back for night two of WrestleMania. Night two of WrestleMania, my review of it will be up on Monday. So stay tuned for that. So it'll be a double upload for you guys on Monday with night two of WrestleMania. And of course, Monday Night Raw, the Raw after WrestleMania. So be on the lookout for that. So overall, thank you all for watching. Be sure to give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and I will see you all later.